Welcome to the 2018-2019 Labor Claiming Training. The GBS Federal Division is required to provide labor claiming training for all employees annually as an internal control measure to assure the government that our employees are aware of the rules surrounding labor claiming in the federal contracting environment. We hope to provide you with information that you find helpful in submitting your time card, and will prepare you for the annual Defense Contract Audit Agency, or DCAA, floor check audit, in case you're selected for review. The GBS Federal Division of IBM is structured to be compliant with federal government requirements for contractors found in the Federal Acquisition Regulation, or FAR, and the Cost Accounting Standards, or CAS. As a result, the Federal Division must maintain an auditable timekeeping system, as well as a labor claiming policies that assure that all hours worked are captured contemporaneously and are charged to the correct project code, which represents the work that's being performed. Timely and accurate labor claiming is a fundamental employee responsibility that's at the very core of our business. It enables IBM to manage our work effectively and bill our government customer accurately. Compliance with timekeeping procedures is both a legal requirement and an IBM condition of employment. Labor mischarging can result in the loss of profit for the company, the disallowance of cost for reimbursement, including fines and penalties, or even suspension or debarment from receiving any further government contracts. It can also result in prosecution not only for IBM as a company, but also for the employee individually in accordance with the recent Yates memo. Let's talk about some of the topics surrounding labor claiming that we frequently encounter. Joining me today in this discussion are our subject matter experts, Sue Wilkes, Elena Piper, and Anita Froelich from the Division 16 Federal Compliance Group. Sue, I know there's a lot of pressure in the company today with regard to utilization goals. How should this impact the way a person records their time on their time card?
I know utilization goals are important, but ultimately the business conduct guidelines dictate how you charge your time on your time card. Employees should charge all of their hours worked against the projects or tasks they're working on, whether those tasks are contract work, B&P, business development, or overhead. If you feel there's an issue in meeting your overall utilization goals, you should work with your manager to plan and manage your utilization.
Elena, I know an internal floor check audit is run each month during the week to make sure that people are charging their time daily. Why is this done, and what concerns you about the results that you're finding?
Well, I'll be happy to clarify that. As you know, the FAR requires that employees record their time daily. DCAA routinely audits for this when they do their floor checks. To be honest, I find it very hard to remember what specific task I have been working on the following day, much less several days later. And I imagine most people have a similar problem. So enter your time when it is fresh in your mind. We have to be precise in the hours that we charge to our various tasks in order for us to manage the business appropriately and bill our customers accurately. Some people fail the audit because they are keeping their time on a paper time card, because a project code hasn't been set up for their work yet. And we understand that this happens occasionally, but it certainly should be a routine thing. If the project code hasn't been set up by the second week of performance, then you need to question whether the work is really authorized. We have also found instances during the DCA audit where 8 hours of time has been entered for the project code on electronic time card for the day early in the morning. The only time hours can be entered on the time card in advance is for vacation, holiday, or jury duty. Otherwise, you must enter your time after you have performed the work. It is only then that you know with certainty how many hours you can actually work on the task.
That brings us to another question. What should an employee do if the project code for their work hasn't been set up yet when they're ready to enter their time? Anita, what would you recommend?
The employee should use a paper time card, which is available on the ET&E Wiki. Under no circumstances should an employee charge a placeholder code or an old charge code and then reclassify their time when the new project code is in the system. It takes about 48 hours for a new project code to circulate through the system and become available for use on the time card. So if the FA sets up the new code late in the week, it may not be available until the weekend or early the following week for use on the time card. If the code isn't available when you enter your time, keep a record of hours worked on a paper time card and then transfer the hours to the electronic time card as soon as the project code becomes available.
Sue, what's the approver's responsibility for approving time cards?
Approvers should approve their time cards for their direct reports no later than Friday night at midnight. If you're going to be unavailable, you should delegate your approval responsibility to someone who's aware of what your direct reports are working on. In ET&E, you would go to the time card, approval view, and choose delegate, as you can see in this view of the time card. Then you can enter the name of the person who will be your proxy, the dates that they can have access to approve for you, and select a reason for the delegation.
Anita, would you please comment on the importance of the certification that employees sign when they submit their time card and the certification that managers make when they approve the time card?
Sure. When the employee signs their time card, they're certifying that their hours claimed are indeed the hours they've worked, and the project code they've charged is the project or task that they've worked on. When the manager approves the time card, they certify that they're aware of the work the employee is doing and that the time is charged to the correct codes and accurately represents the work performed. If the time card does not accurately reflect the hours worked or does not identify the correct project code representing the work, then the employee and their manager are making a misrepresentation to IBM and eventually to the government through our billing process, regardless of whether the work is charged to a direct project or an indirect project. Each misrepresentation made by IBM in its direct or indirect billings to the government potentially may be subject to triple damages recoverable by the government, plus heavy fines and penalties. The employee and manager may also potentially be subject to prosecution in addition to internal discipline. Managers, be sure you review all time cards closely for proper charging before you sign them. If you have a question about a charge, reject the time card and provide your direct report and explanation as to why you are rejecting it.
Elena, if I realize that I've made a mistake on my time card and I need to correct it, what should I do?
Well, keep in mind that you can always make corrections to your current time card or an already approved time card. When you make corrections, you must select a reason code from the drop-down box in the system. In addition, you must provide a valid explanation in the comment box. The explanation for the correction should never be because my manager told me to make a change. You must fully understand why the change has to be made and provide that explanation. Each transaction requiring a reason code is stored in ET&E as a historical record that can be audited by the DCA. DCA periodically audits time reports of government contractors to ensure that the government is being charged correctly and they pay particular attention to corrected time cards.
We have developed several tools around our labor claiming that help us charge the government more accurately. Sue, would you please tell us a bit about the Work Authorization Tool, or WAT?
The Work Authorization Tool was developed based on a DCAA finding in our labor claiming audit, which required better internal control around time charging. WAT provides an automated tool for project managers to communicate with their employees about work assignments and the charge codes they should be using on their time card. The PM will receive an automated email to notify them of the new work authorization created by the project setup group. The PM is then responsible for activating that work authorization by entering a brief statement of work and making sure the period of performance is correct. The PM then creates an employee assignment for each employee working on their contract. The employee assignment also specifies the charge code to use, any project labor category information if required, and the time frame the employee is able to use these charge codes. It also has a description that allows the employee to determine independently that they are charging the correct code for the work they're doing. The employee assignments also gives the PM an opportunity to include any special instructions for the employee on specific tasks. Employees will receive an email notification when they are assigned to a project using WAT, or when any existing assignment is modified by the PM. For example, when a contract modification is received to extend the period of performance, the PM is able to update the work authorization and all of the assigned employees in one simple step, and the employees each receive a new email with the updated information.
Elena, when should e-totals be used?
As you know, eTotals is a corporate system that fits into payroll. Only non-exempt employees must record their time both in ET&E and eTotals. Time is entered in eTotals at the end of the week based on the hours found in ET&E. Please be sure that the hours in ET&E and eTotals are the same.
Anita, would you tell us a bit about P-Claim?
P-Claim is a labor claiming database for our subcontractors. All of our subcontractors must enter their time in this system daily, and their time must be approved by the project manager or their designee at the end of each week. If we borrow labor from other IBM divisions where ILC is used as a timekeeping system, then there is an automated process that will bring their labor hours into our P-Claim as long as a proper document of understanding has been set up. If the division doesn't use ILC, then the borrowed resources have to enter their time into P-Claim directly. Division 16 project managers are responsible for approving these time cards weekly as well. P-Claim is our source document for all subcontract hours charged to the federal government.
There seems to be some confusion about when you should charge overhead labor, bid and proposal labor, or business development or MOS labor. Let's see if we can straighten that out for you. Elena, when should an employee charge overhead?
I'll be happy to clarify that. Indirect project codes will be provided to employees at the time of the work assignment. The service area managers are responsible for managing the use of indirect project codes that get charged against the overhead pools. Education is an overhead charge. Each service area has a project code for general education or certification activities that are not part of the contract. All of you think 40 hours should be charged to your department's education code. If you are working on an activity that is not directly related to the specific contract, but benefits multiple contracts in general, then you would charge the general works code that you have been assigned. Bench time is non-productive time between assignments, as an indirect cost that follows directly to your person overhead pool.
Anita, when should labor be charged to bid and proposal or business development or MOS?
B&P doesn't start until the government issues an RFP or an RFQ, or we are asked to prepare a ROM. B&P ends at the point that we have a signed contract or receive notice of contract award to another entity and have had our debrief from the government. The cost accounting standards require that we separately identify each proposal effort individually. B&P activities are tightly budgeted and closely monitored. Business development is charged when we're developing a strategy for new business and positioning the company to pursue work. Usually people performing these sorts of tasks are part of our business development or MOS group, but others may be requested to join the effort. When that happens, they're given specific project codes for their work. We've created the Nest, which allows selected employees to engage in the development of new products, processes, or approaches to be used in our business with the government. These projects have to be pre-approved and budget has to be made available to perform these activities. Employees selected to work on such projects will receive special business development codes. We have a matrix that might help you decide whether an activity is B&P or business development. It is available on our ET&E Wiki and on our IBM Federal Compliance Connection community. The link to both of these areas can be found on the invitation to this training.
I'd like to address the topic of sick leave, since it's a relatively new item found on your time card. Near the end of 2017, a new regulation was promulgated in the FAR as a result of an executive order that was issued in 2016. This regulation requires all government contractors, both commercial and CAS covered, to provide a minimum of 56 hours of sick leave a year to all employees who work or support government contracts. Unused hours can be carried over to the next year with a maximum total of 112 hours available for sick leave. The accumulated sick leave hours are not paid out when an employee leaves the company. We started tracking sick time at the beginning of 2017. But since the regulation wasn't actually promulgated until near the end of 2017, we prorated sick leave for that year, and a maximum of 14 hours of unused sick time could be carried forward from 2017 into 2018 to be added to your new annual allotment of 56 hours. In 2019, the remaining balance of your sick leave from 2018 will be added to the 56 hours you'll earn in 2019 to give you a starting balance which cannot exceed 112 hours. The regulation requires that the sick leave balance available be posted in a place that is visible to the employee. We post this on the face of the ET&E time card in the upper right corner. Each hour that you record of sick leave on your time card decrements your sick leave balance shown in the box on the time card. This 56 hours of sick leave can be used for personal illness or to take care of a family member who is ill. IBM's policy has been that sick leave is for personal illness only. If the employee is ill themselves beyond the balance available, the manager can, at their discretion, allow a reasonable amount of additional sick leave to be taken. Keep in mind that short-term disability starts after the employee has been out with a personal illness for 10 consecutive days. Now you've heard enough from us. Let's check in with some of our new ET&E users. Matthew McAllister and Lucas Weisenberger are new to IBM. Ben Hadra is serving as our ET&E Help Desk Advisor for this presentation. Take it away, guys.
Hey Ben, I changed my intranet password and I can't get into my time card. I thought the ET&E system used the intranet password, Any idea what's going on?
Did you include a special character in your password? ET&E can't recognize special characters. So if you use special characters when resetting your IBM intranet password, you won't be able to get into ET&E. The ET&E help desk cannot reset your password for you. You will have to use the IBM intranet link to reset your password. So please don't use special characters.
How do I find project codes that I've used before?
Previously used project codes are archived in ET&E. Click on the down arrow at the end of the line where you enter your project code. Then you'll see a list of charge codes that you have used before at the end of the list. Choose the appropriate code from that list. As an alternative, you can click on Search and search by organization code or description, or get a list of all project codes. But we strongly recommend that you consult your employee assignment email from the work authorization tool for the proper code.
So I'm going on vacation next week. When should I enter my vacation time?
You must enter your vacation and holiday time in advance of taking off. If you're going to be away from work on Friday, submit your time card before you leave. You can enter multiple weeks of vacation in advance. When entering leave, click on the down arrow at the end of the project code line and choose the appropriate type of leave from the list provided. The appropriate pay type will automatically populate.
If I report to more than one project manager, which manager should approve my time card?
The manager for the project on which you spend the most time should approve your time card. Consult both the project managers about the appropriate approver, but only one approver can be used in the system. Your Blue Pages manager will most likely be the default approver. You will need to change the time card approver when you submit your first time card if your project manager is more aware of the time you're working and the work you are doing. After clicking on the Submit button, you'll see a box on the right of the screen for approver. Enter the time card approver's name in this box and search for the ID. This person will remain your time card approver until you change him.
Say I work over 40 hours a week. How should I indicate that overtime on my time card?
You don't enter overtime hours separately in ET&E. Just record the total number of hours you worked each day against the appropriate project code and regular pay type. Our system distributes the labor cost by dividing your weekly salary by the total number of hours you have on your time card for the week. It knows to make the appropriate adjustments for non-exempt people who get paid time and a half for hours over 40 in a week.
How can my project manager get access to the ET&E reports to review time charge in the current or prior years?
Access to the ET&E reports is granted through one team. Choose Global Business Service, as shown in the screenshot, and then choose eTime Card Reporting/admin. The link to the ET&E reports can be found on the ET&E wiki page. You'll want to bookmark those links.
If I don't have my laptop on me, could I use my cell phone to record my hours through ET&E?
Yes, access to ET&E is available on the internet and through a mobile-friendly site that makes it easier for users to view on a mobile phone screen. These sites are available on any device and don't require a connection to IBM's intranet. You can find the links to these sites on the ET&E wiki page. We have frequently mentioned that documentation is available on the ET&E wiki page during this webinar. A link to this site, as well as the IBM Federal Compliance Community, can be found on the invitation to this training. Please bookmark these links since we keep all documentation related to federal-specific policies and processes in these locations.
Each quarter, DCAA randomly selects a group of employees to interview about their timekeeping practices and their knowledge of the division's policies on timekeeping. Employees can be at an IBM location, a government location, they can be mobile employees, or work-from-home employees. Sometimes, the DCAA auditor will show up unannounced at an IBM or government facility to conduct the floor check audit. In other cases, they will contact the employee by phone. In either case, an IBM facilitator must be present for these interviews to provide any clarification that you might need and to observe the questioning. If DCAA contacts you directly, please reschedule the meeting and contact the compliance group. Please be aware that the DoD hotline poster is posted in each IBM office and on the ET&E wiki. It provides employees with a number that they can call if they suspect fraud. This could well be one of the questions asked by DCAA.
We hope that this year's labor claiming training has provided a good refresher for you on Division 16's labor claiming policies and processes, and will help you answer the auditor's questions if you're selected for audit. Proper timekeeping is a compliance requirement that applies to all employees. Non-compliance can impact our business and our ability to do future work with the government. If you have any questions about your labor claiming, you can always call the ET&E Help Desk at the number displayed at the bottom of this screen. They're open between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern Time each weekday. This training is being hosted on Events Central. Thus, there is no need for you to take a separate step to obtain certification for your Think 40 credits. You should see this training listed on your Think 40 within 24 hours of completing the training. At that point, you can download a certificate. Thank you for your participation in this year's labor claiming training.